Namaste, everybody. So this is I've been posting quite a few videos about this, trying to get this nailed in as much detail as possible in the very short amount of time that we've got. These are very short videos and it's a lot of information. So I hope that this is sufficient for you. Hope you can wrap your head around this. This is the third video. It could be the fourth because I did post another couple of videos. This is the third video in the series of what is reality. Okay, what is reality? The densities of consciousness and the dimensions within this physical manifest reality that we call the universe, that the higher density beings call the illusion complex or the octave. Okay, so we're going to be describing now the 12 density, the base 12 density consciousness system, which again is very similar to Ra's eighth density system. It's very similar to the 9 density system. It's just this has got more detail and it's got more divisions, which makes it slightly more complicated in some ways, but it makes it easier to understand in many other ways. Let's see how we go with this. Okay, so the 12 density consciousness system. If you haven't watched the other videos already, part 1 and part 2, this is part 3. Please watch part 1 and part 2 because you probably won't understand this without part 1 or 2. Okay, we're building up to, so we've done part 1 was the 8 densities of consciousness system, and then we've done the 9 density of consciousness system, and now this is the 12 density of consciousness system, which is spoken about in other materials, and other channelers have channeled this. Okay, the 12 density consciousness system, the 12th density would of course be the Godhead, the non-physical Godhead, the One, the undistorted, undifferentiated One before any distortions, the one unit of all potentiality, all probability, all happening, all probability, all possibilities, every eventuality before it has been made manifest. But there's a paradox to all of this, because the Godhead, of course, already knows all outcomes, all eventualities, and all probabilities, all possibilities, and is just kind of, in a way, watching over all of the many timelines, all of the many dimensions, and all the many densities, and all of the many octaves within the omniverse playing out. Okay, so you might be thinking, well, what is the point if the Godhead already knows all the outcomes, all the possible probabilities, possibility vortexes, then what is the point in all of this? Well, the point is we need something to do. We're eternal beings of light, and we need something to do. We need a challenge. So what we do is the Godhead differentiates, and even though it knows all of the possible probable outcomes of everything that ever has been, ever will be, ever can be, it still plays the game that we call life, the game that we call reality. And the way that it does that is it differentiates parts of itself off into soul aspects like us. We are cells in the body of God. We are all gods. We are all a piece of God. Your soul contains a spirit element that is a filament of God. It's literally a piece of the source manifest. Okay, when Jesus said, when Yeshua said, "I and the Father are one," he meant that about all of us. We are all one with God, with the source, with the universe, whatever you want to call it. Doesn't matter what you call it. You don't have to use religious connotations. You don't have to even use spiritual connotations. But we are all one with the source. It's difficult to understand, but we are all God. experiencing itself. And this is how God plays the game. This is how the source, the universe, plays the game, the cosmic game, okay? So the first differentiation is from the one is love. God is ultimately love, okay? So the source, the universe, is ultimately love in its most undistorted aspect. So from the 12th density in this system, it divides then into light. Okay, so the 11th density would be light. But now it works slightly differently. That would be the way, but this works slightly differently. So we're going to go from the 12th density, the Godhead, the non-physical Godhead of all potentiality, but it's just one unit. Okay, one unit. The 11th density would be the great central sun, which is to us is non-physical. It makes up the omniverse. It's the great central sun. It's the nuclear, the core of the omniverse creation. So even though it's within the creation, it's non-physical. Okay, and the beings of the great central sun are non-physical creator beings. They're God creator beings, and you would look at them as, in the 11th density, universal God selves. So they are unified with the source, with the Godhead, as much as is possible, yet is slightly removed from it, enough to begin the process of planning all of the creation's possible, probable vortexes for every single reality, okay, in every universe, within the multiverse or omniverse, whatever you want to call it. The 10th density would be the great central sun of the universe. Okay, the great central sun of the universe, and the beings of the great central sun. Okay, this is differentiated more, compartmentalized more. So there's more units, okay, out making, planning various different aspects of galaxies and galactic systems, okay. So these are really, really high levels of consciousness, of course. To be able to create and design, to be able to design galaxies and everything that's within them, and galactic systems, clusters of galaxies, you've got to be at a very super high level of consciousness, right? Very, very high, such a high vibration of light, so fast that to us it would be invisible, okay? It's on the electromagnetic spectrum, but not within the visible light spectrum. Okay, that's the way to look at it, from the 9th, the 10th, and the 11th, and the 12th densities. They're not visible to us, but they're visible to themselves, and they're visible to each other. But they're not visible from aspects of creation that are lower than 9th density. Okay. The 9th density would be the central sun of each galaxy, the nuclei of each galaxy, and the monad, or the master oversoul. It's also supermassive black holes. To us, the physical manifestation of the central sun is a supermassive black hole at the center of almost every galaxy. The only galaxies that don't have this nuclei are galaxies that are not formed correctly, either failed galaxies or galaxies that just have not formed properly and then they've been abandoned. Even galaxies have reincarnational cycles. Yeah, the central suns have reincarnational cycles. They're just billions and billions of years. Okay? We're all entities. We're all aspects of the source. So the monad is your master oversoul, the oversoul of the oversoul. Then the monad projects out 12. Every single monad projects out to 12 oversouls. And then each oversoul projects out to 12 primary soul aspects. So the oversouls are in the 8th density. So the 9th density master oversoul or monad projects out into 12 units of its own consciousness. Then those 12 units of projected consciousness then divide into 12. Each one divides into 12. Okay? So this, you can count up how many soul aspects there are, but then each soul can then divide as well. We'll get into that. That's where twin flames come in, okay? But we're not quite there yet. So let's put this. Yeah. So the 8th density would be the solar system creating logos. So it would be, ours would be the sun. Okay, the sun logos. So 8th density being on the 12-dimensional system. So the 12 densities of consciousness system. These are not dimensions. These are densities of consciousness. This is states of awareness and beingness. Okay, so the oversouls that have been projected out of the master oversouls, which are also the beings of the sun. So basically the sun body itself, the physical sun body, contains a metaphysical logos. Okay, it's a sub logos. So the great central sun is a sub logos of the great central sun. The central suns of the nuclei of each galaxy, the core of each galaxy, is a sub logos of the great central sun of the universe, and then it subdivides down. Okay, so the 8th density would be the sun body, or the metaphysical logos of our solar system that creates all of our planets. That's where all of our planets came from. The beings within the sun, the metaphysical beings within the metaphysical sun, the logos, would be the 6th and the 7th density beings. Okay, the 7th density being the primary soul aspects. So now there are 12 primary soul aspects projected out of each one of the 12 logos, sun logos. Okay, so this keeps projecting out into 12 from each one. There's another 12, and so the 7th density is the consciousness of unity with source, full light body, full psychic abilities, full telepathy, ability to access every dimension, every density from the 7th and down, and even access to parts of the 8th density. So they're the guardians, and they are the teachers of your higher self. So the 6th density is that of the higher self. I've just been wary of the time. The 6th density is that of your higher self. Your higher self is basically, you could look at it as yourself in the future. It then, in the positive service to others sense, then looks back, as it were to speak, in a manner of speaking, looks back in time, because it sees all time as one. It can pick different timelines, any one of your timelines, and it can act as your higher self. It can guide you. Like my higher self's been guiding me, and I channel my higher self quite a lot. We've all got a higher self. If you're in the positive polarity, you've got a higher self. If you're in the negative polarity, you do not have a higher self, because you always have a master. Okay? Usually physical master, or a slightly higher being, usually within your density or slightly higher, that is your master. Okay? And you're continuously battling with other entities to get to the top place. Very high entropy with that. They have to work a lot harder. The negative path is the very difficult path. Right, we're running out of time. So the higher self, its main job is to assist its other so every incarnation that you've ever had, when you get to the 6th density, from the 4th, the 5th, the 4th, the 3rd, you then kind of go back in time, as it were to speak. You pick certain timelines and certain dimensions and densities, and you project certain aspects of yourself. You're multidimensional, of course, so you can project into all these different formats and guide your previous incarnations. The fifth density is that of wisdom and lights, crystalline light body, which isn't a full light body. It's a crystalline light consciousness. It's more the mind. But they call it crystalline light body. And though a fifth density crystalline being can appear like us, okay, just maybe glowing slightly more defined, more definition. The fourth density, we've spoken about this in previous videos. See, I don't really need to go into this that much more. If you've watched the other videos, then you'll know that the fourth density is where we're heading into. We're in fourth density now on this earth. For anyone who has chosen their path, anybody who's dedicated their life to service to others, like I have, and like many of you have who are watching this, it goes by intentions, thoughts, actions, and deeds. Seeing all as one, and seeing other humans as you. If you've forgiven all of your ex-partners, all of your friends who've said bad things about you, done bad things to you, if you've seen all that as just part of the big picture and part of the learning curve and part of the game of life, and you're beginning to see unconditional love, and you see yourself in everybody else, then you're already in fourth density consciousness, pretty much. The third density is where we've been in for the past however many thousands of years. Many of us, many master cycles. And we've talked about second density, we've talked about first density. I don't need to go into this. Watch the other videos for that, because we're out of time now. Knew this one was going to take longer, but I hope this helps. Namaste.